All right. Well, I'll go ahead and call us to order. It's 4:02 by my clock here. Um, we're not expecting Landon today, our secretary, so I will go ahead and take the roll. John Adonko.
Present.
Thank you. Dave Bianchi.
Here.
Debbie Beiersdorf.
Here.
Christine Brown Gallagher.
Here.
Joe Klein.
Here.
Melissa Dedman, I'm here. Mary Luz Garcia.
I'm here.
Lauren Garfinkel.
Aye.
Kendall Inskip.
Present.
All right. Phil Kaiser. No Phil. Landon, I know, is not here today. Chris Morgan.
Present.
Thank you, Chris. Charles Pacias.
Present.
All right. Great to see you, Charles. Michelle Sanchez-Bickley.
I'm here.
Thanks, Michelle. Eric Sheets.
Don't see him.
Don't see Eric. Dave Shintani, I believe, had to back out. And Jill Tolles.
I'm here, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jill. I believe we do have a quorum.
Yes, we do. Yes.
So let's see, the next item on the agenda here, 2.01, approval of the minutes from the November 29th, 2021 Ed Alliance Board of Directors meeting. This is for possible action. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Charles. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lauren. Any discussion? All right, no discussion. Brittany, do we have any public comment?
Not at this time.
All right, we'll go ahead and take the vote. All in favor of approving the minutes from the November 29th Ed Alliance Board of Directors meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. Agenda item 2.02, presentation and update on the Washoe County School District Superintendent Search. I believe Emily Ellison is going to join us and give us an update, but she won't be able to join us until around 4:30 p.m. or after. So if the board will indulge, I'd like to temporarily skip over that item and move to item 2.03, presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve distribution of the funding raised for the Healing Through Health initiative for elementary schools' need for student physical, nutritional, and social and emotional health support. Kendall, before we look for a motion, do you want to give us just kind of a brief intro on the number of funds we have available and maybe who we're anticipating would apply for these funds?
Absolutely. I'm super stoked to report again that we have raised over $100,000. To be exact, $104,286. That is, all the pledges have been collected, all the payments are in, all the grants that we've submitted are all in, and if every single elementary school, yes.
Apologize, but I think if your computer sound on mute, turn the volume down on your sound. We won't get that echo, and it might be clearer for the minutes in the record. No, I think you muted yourself, so you want to keep yourself off of mute, but you want to take the sound from your speakers of your computer and turn that down.
It may be the sound coming from the conference room that they need to mute.
But then they won't be able to hear her.
No, they can hear her. just the sound in the conference room won't come back.
Okay.
If I turn my sound down here at my computer, I cannot hear you.
Well, we can hear you clear. So if you want to finish your statement and then turn it back on, that sounds good.
Okay. How is this now? Can everyone hear me okay?
We can hear you, Kendall, thanks.
That's so annoying. All right, so annoying. So I just want you to know that we have raised $104,286. All the pledges and all the payments are in. I think that's pretty darn good for 5 months of fundraising. And according to, if you talk to Brittany, she says it's about 3 months worth of fundraising. So that's probably about right, because we lit a fire up starting August of last year and finished by October. If every single elementary school in the Washoe County School District applies, it's $1,604 and some change. The most important thing I want to share with you is that the funding distribution, we want to have a celebration at an elementary school. And of course, we're on hold for doing that until after spring break. We want to launch this funding distribution tomorrow, this week, so that we can get applications from all elementary school principals. The application, it's non-competitive. It's a simple 3-question. How will you spend the money? Who are you? Do you want to distribute it? Give us 500 words or less. If you need to use it for PE, nutrition education, or for mental health resources. We've been working with counseling at the district and social emotional learning. And Debbie, thank you for looking over kind of the materials and so forth. Brittany has put together a beautiful allowable expenses guide, which is totally aligned with the Run for Education Kids in Motion program. Again, all those things around kids' physical fitness, nutrition education, and then some items around social emotional learning, curriculum books, and mental health resources. So I'm super stoked about this. That's the report. Oh, tentatively, we've scheduled. I hear the echo again. Sorry about that. We've scheduled the funding distribution celebration for March 30th, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m., Hunter Lake Elementary School. Everyone will be invited, all our donors, every one of you, board members, you're all donors, media, we're going to have a big splash. Outdoors.
All right, thanks so much, Kendall. Just a couple of items here, just let the record show. Eric was able to join us, Eric Sheets, thanks so much, at 4:08 p.m. And then for those who were able to join us at our last board meeting on the 29th, you'll recall that we had to table this item since we did not have quorum to be able to vote. So maybe before any further discussion on the specifics of amounts and how we'll distribute this, could we have a motion for how to do so?
Yeah, this is Dave Bianchi. I also wanted to note that Chris, I don't know if you had him down or not, he showed up on the Zoom screen.
Oh,
Was he already there?
I did have Chris, thank you.
Okay. Or maybe his face just showed up. Thanks for thinking of me, Dave. Well, thank you. And I'd like to move that we approve the Healing Through Health grants to the Washoe County School District elementary schools that apply during January 25 through February 11th, 2022. And I would say in an amount not to exceed $2,000 per elementary school.
All right, looks like we have a motion on the table. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jill. Any further discussion or questions?
We're so excited to get this out to schools, and they're going to need it more than ever. We'll be able to celebrate in a big way after the spring break is what the district would like. We've already talked to the principal there at Hunter Lake, And what we want to do at this point, once we receive your kind vote, is to, or approval, is to get that application out this week.
All right. Any other comments or questions for Kendall? All right, well, while we still have a quorum, why don't we go ahead towards the vote. Brittany, do we have any public comment?
None at this time.
All right, let's go ahead and call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. Fantastic.
Woo! All right. So glad.
That was a long time in the making,
Congratulations.
so yes, worth celebrating. Let us have it, Kendall.
Yes. Congratulations to all of you.
All right, well, I have not seen that Emily has joined us unless she's joined us on Teams. So I'll continue to hold off on item 2.02, the update on the superintendent search. And we'll go ahead and move forward to item 2.04, presentation, discussion, and update on the principal for a half day, Partner in Education Pie Champions Awards, and events scheduled February 9th and 10th. Kendall, give us the news.
You know I sent out the information to all of you. We are so disappointed, but it's the right thing to do. Principal for a day had to be canceled again due to the spike in the virus and the weight on principals really experiencing staffing issues, and from buses to nutrition, but to teachers. So God bless all of them in schools. But the good news is I have to share, which you'll all be thrilled to know, that KTVN 2 News, we had a great virtual meeting with him a couple weeks ago. They will be doing the 2022 Pie Champion Award television special again. Isn't that awesome? What nonprofit
Very
enjoys
nice.
this kind of high visibility? It has been running, last year's has been running almost every Sunday or Saturday after football games or plugged in after things. So we're still receiving donations for the laptop drive, in fact. And I have another probably 7 to order based on donations that we've received over the holidays and so forth for the laptops. It's a huge thing. It's a lot of work. Brittany runs her tail around, and Jeff Foss, the videographer, and of course, Zach Mooney, the promotions manager at Channel 2, run around and get all these great interviews. It's tentatively expected to air late April or early May. So stay tuned because we may be calling on you for this television special.
Very good. And I know you were asking, Kendall, since we aren't able to hold the principal for a half day, asking for us to kind of brainstorm a little bit on what we might do in lieu of to, continue to help facilitate those partnerships with the schools and members of the public and private sector. Do you want to open that discussion up a little bit?
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm still echoing, I'm sorry. I don't know that there's anything we can do in the meantime, but certainly, we know that in the next couple of months, we're going to have to be looking at a lot of our events. And Ann Silver was so on board with having Meet Your Match, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So I think we just pick that back up again when we can. But I would open up the floor to any discussion and welcome any ideas around building partnerships and so forth. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on in schools right now, so we're trying to take it case by case basis as far as making sure principals have opportunities with partners that we can find for them if they ask for it.
All right. Any ideas from the board or Debbie maybe on, things we can do to continue to facilitate those partnerships in lieu of an event like Principal for a Half Day? Anybody have thoughts? In all frankness, I'm trying to buy us some time until we can get back to the second agenda item here with our update. when we have our guests join us.
I can help you.
Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that.
Stretch that. So, hi, everybody. Deborah Byersdorf here. So, appreciate everybody understanding why we had to cancel. And I was the bearer of bad news to Kendall, and Brittany had to walk down the hall and say, "Ugh, we've been canceling professional learning, field trips. What all else did I mean, unfortunately, just to try to get us to spring break." So was really bummed for sure. I think that was a term that Kendall said. Was very upset actually about that. So anyways, one of the things that we talked about briefly when I came down to talk to Kendall and Brittany is that we have this year, I think it's 12 brand new principals in our schools. And interestingly enough, next year we could have about 14 new principals. We're a large school district, over 100 schools. People are retiring. There'll be other opportunities at the district level for folks to move into different positions. So one thing we talked about were ideas to really solidify and revisit what it means to have a partner in education, and how we all could, well, I don't know what exactly that would look like. I'll leave that to the experts, but getting it back out in front. We haven't had our principal meetings in person forever. We had one scheduled for February. We canceled that one as well. That was actually going to be in person. We've just canceled that to get it off the plates of principals. So might be some opportunities for, revisiting, and then knowing that we've got a lot of new leaders in buildings that are in place now and heading into next school year as well. So just a thought there, and what maybe some ideas around that.
To piggyback off of the crazy times we're in right now, maybe utilizing this downtime and transition time as an opportunity to kind of beef up the promotional side of things. Do we have, this is more of a question for you ladies, but are there existing video production products that we can kick out that are easily disseminated? And if not, maybe this is the time of year that we kind of produce some of that so it's readily available. Even though we're still living in a remote world, it might be a way to spread the news but not have to do it in such a heavy lifting kind of manner like a meeting or a presentation.
No, I love that. And honestly, Marluz, too, one of the cool things, and I mentioned it last month or a November meeting, is we met with all the Redfield Community Outreach Coordinator Program schools, 12 of them, all the principals, 3 middle and 9 elementary. And several of them are utilizing that program, which I call the ideal partner in education relationship. Many of the principals are utilizing that partnership, their partners, in their school performance plan, the SPP. That's a plan that principals produce every single year with goals and objectives and action steps, and a little more flowing and open-ended, but from what I understand from the school improvement folks who help principals with the school performance plans, that Partners in Education is a ready-made connectedness improvement strategy for students, parents, and schools. So what that means is Partners in Ed can be in their school performance, allow principals to check a box for their school performance plan. Does that make any sense at all? The good news is that we want to encourage principals to and tell them and share with them that Partners in Ed is a way to achieve that connectedness improvement strategy. And we have some ideas around that. In fact, Brittany and I presented to the Office of School Leadership and shared that information with the leaders that are over the schools, the area superintendents.
And Kendall, as we kind of go out into our, own spheres of influence, any thoughts for us on, how, the type of message we can relay? What are the, of course, we have a sense of the benefits of Partners in Ed, but what are some of the things in particular, that we can help spread the word about? What makes for a good partner in Ed? What are the schools looking for? Or maybe Debbie, you can help with this as well. All right, help us to tell the right message to our spheres of influence and trying to recruit more partners in ed.
Right on. I appreciate that. We have a pie guide, a partner in education guide for businesses. We can send it out to them and what schools are looking for and what. There's even a pie interest form. So if they are interested in being a partner in ed, here's the things you can expect. We always, make sure front and center it's reciprocal. So schools can give back to those companies in different ways as well. They can either be part. We welcome all sizes, all walks of life partners in education for schools. There's always a way to help, no matter how small a business or an organization is. So we try to provide as much personal service as possible, but our website, our webpage, Partners in Education, is really a good place to go, and it kind of helps to walk people through it. And if you can direct folks there or direct them right to our office, we can give them that personal service as well. Schools need help.
And again, this is Debbie. To answer your question, Melissa, what are schools needing? And I think a lot of the partnerships at all levels. It's a lot of the in-person, it's tutoring, it's events, it's students. I think about the partnership Sparks High has with the Row, and their graduates being honored, all those kinds of things that hopefully when we get toward the end of the school year might not be as difficult to have in person as they seem to be right now. And it's supplies and books and things like that. But I think also too, given what we're all kind of maneuvering through right now, I think opportunities for recognition. We all know how hard teachers and schools and principals and kids and families. So I think just picking up the phone or dare I say, taking a dozen donuts. I mean, for the office, I don't know, just things that we're thinking, the community's thinking about you. Would go a long way too, because our schools are, they're engaged in battles every day, and they're trying to keep everyone focused on the positive, and we'll get through this, and all those things that we hear all the time. So it can just be as easy as a thank you notes to the staff, for an elementary school, or it doesn't have to be any big, costly, time-intensive kind of thing. I would think that's what I would want to know, that people are like, we see you. We know how hard you're working keeping kids in schools.
Yeah, this is Eric. I like that idea a lot. I would recommend maybe we send out a template to our partners of a thank you to send to certain schools, whoever maybe the match was in particular. Just a little line, couple sentences saying thank you.
I think to that end, this is Christine Callagher. I like the idea of almost using teacher appreciation, and maybe not waiting until Teacher Appreciation Week, but doing it sooner, of providing not only to current partners in ed, but also prospective partners in ed, almost a menu, maybe a really simple menu, 5 things that you can do for a school, and that's something, at Ed Alliance we can manage, we can track, which companies or organizations are interested in a particular menu item. And then, of course, since you have such an intimate knowledge of the schools themselves and their needs, you can decide where to place those menu items and those fulfilled needs. But it could be a nice, almost introductory way for people to make, for lack of a better way to put it, a small investment, if it's a stack of Starbucks cards or a box of donuts to a school, that could lead the way to a bigger ask down the line, perhaps when we have our online Partners in Education search tool in place and that's ready to launch. We already have kind of a warm introduction to ask folks to consider making bigger investments in schools.
No, absolutely great ideas, and I think we tend to think automatically about, the funds and supplies and books, but just, that connection to the schools, letting them know, we care about you, we see you, we know how hard you work, I think goes a long way, and having a a menu like that, just to reiterate it and show people that, hey, it's not always these big asks, these little asks go a long way, and then again to facilitate the larger ones going forward. So great ideas. I love that we took the time to go ahead and discuss this.
Yep.
Jill, I see, and Chris, I see you have a hand up on Teams. Sorry, I need to be better attentive on the folks participating virtually. So Jill, you want to go ahead?
That's okay. I feel you. I was teaching hybrid just 2 hours ago at UNR, so it's a challenge. I think I would just add to, I love what Christine had to say, if we could add not just teachers, but principals could use a lot of encouragement, and staff. And for whatever reason, what first came to mind is our attendance staff, who's just having to track all of this attendance. I mean, I don't know if we've ever had an attendance staff day, but good night. They've had a lot to keep track of. But just those people that maybe are behind the scenes a lot of times that don't get the recognition and could really, really use that boost to say, we see you too, even when you're behind the scenes.
Chris?
Totally agree. And I want to get back to principal for a day real quickly. We just had a briefing from an ex-commissioner of the FDC, and FDA, sorry, and he's now on the board of Pfizer. And he was just talking about how COVID is going to evolve, likely going to evolve over this year and next, and essentially saying that it's going to probably normalize, but we may be in a situation where the winter months are months that we continue to encourage people to take precautions and avoid getting in larger groups, and but the springs, falls, summers are likely to be much more near normal than like we've all remembered. I'm just wondering, would it make sense to postpone or reschedule principal for a day to be something a little later in the year? Looking into the spring or fall, when the flu season and like it'll be COVID season. Well, I guess it's kind of the same thing, but flu and the virus season are not going to be as risky.
No, good thought, and I don't know what the possibilities are for this year. It might be something we have to consider for the next academic year. Kendall, Debbie, any thoughts on that?
So this is Debbie. So along with flu season and all that, we have what we call testing season, and that's April and May. I totally said that tongue in cheek, but that's what it feels like at the site. So when we come off, the spring break this year is pretty earlier than I think it kind of seems usually to be. But anyways, when we come out the other side of March into April and May, we're heavy in testing and also in hiring the principals I talked about earlier, teachers. It's a busy time of year to wrap up the school year. So I personally like the idea of fall, school settling in and all the things that happen at a school to build culture and the climate in the school. And then kind of out of the get-go, building the relationships with the new principals I mentioned earlier. While they're still, there's an ebb and flow to the life of a principal's year, and a new principal, they're kind of on that high for a few months before it kind of starts. It's a hard job, so maybe capitalizing on the newness of the school year might be something to consider.
Brittany, have we given you a heart
Let's
attack?
continue that discussion.
In terms of the timing?
We're going to continue that discussion because I think there's some merit in that for sure. And definitely the idea of all educators, all staff at schools getting a thank you is a great idea, Jill, for sure. I can't let this item go without thanking John Adunco and his team, because he and his team have been bringing cups of joy to close to 30, it's got to be 30 or more schools now, that they show up at a school in the morning and provide, without fanfare, Java Ship coffee comes and they take orders prior to it, lattes and all kind of smoothies and goodies for every school. It's like the most lovely, feel-good gesture, John. I can't even thank you enough.
It's our pleasure, Kendall. It's a great thing for us to just be a part of, and at the same time, everyone on this board is more than welcome and invited to attend those events as well. It just adds that additional contact to some of those who need it the most right now.
Hey, a cup of coffee in these day and age, this day and time. Much welcome, much welcome. So I've taken some copious notes. Thank you for your comments.
Absolutely, and great discussion. Any further discussion, especially from those on Teams? I can see just a portion of you, so I don't want to leave anyone out. Give everyone an opportunity to contribute if they have something.
Do we have Emily? Did she join us?
We do have Emily now, yes. Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and go back then to item 2.02. We are so happy to welcome Emily Ellison, Chief Human Resources Officer, for a brief presentation and update on the Washoe County School District Superintendent Search. Emily, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Again, Emily Ellison for the record. Not that anyone was asking me what we need, but I can tell you what we need. And that is, if you all know any organizations that have volunteer or community service programs that I could connect with and have their employees come into our schools to provide supports, send them my way. I want to get talking to those folks because we can definitely use the help. So. As it relates to the superintendent search, that process is underway. You've probably seen at recent board meetings that the Bryan Group was hired to facilitate the search. They've been to the last couple of board meetings to provide some updates and also to collect some feedback and decision points from the trustees. At this point, the position posting and brochure have been created and are up on our website. If you look at our homepage, there's a slider for the superintendent search. You just click on that and it'll take you right to the page with everything about this process. It'll also take you to their website if you want to see what they're doing on their website. And they have identified their search advisory group. And so that is a group that is advisory to them as a part of the search process. And it's actually kind of a cool thing because their product really, their search product really centers around some, I'm going to call it psychological testing, that identifies the key qualities and characteristics of the ideal leader. And so the search advisory group has had an opportunity or will have an opportunity to provide some of that feedback. The Board of Trustees has had an opportunity as well. And very soon, if I'm looking at the timeline, it should be probably sometime this week, a community survey will go out as well. So if not this week, then next week, so that everyone has an opportunity to provide that feedback. What they do is kind of, I don't know, I call it the flux capacitor, right? They put it into their machine and then they spit out kind of here's what the Washoe profile looks like. And then they begin screening and, not recruiting and screening, but obviously they're recruiting and then they screen against that tool. So survey is slated to be out through the middle of February. And then once they have kind of the portrait of the perfect superintendent, candidates will go through a short interview process and then a long interview process. And they use a format called guided storytelling interviewing. Some of you are probably familiar with behavior-based interviewing, right, where you're asking people for examples. This is much beyond that. They gave me a demonstration of it one day, and it's a really kind of cool conversational tool that starts with sort of a typical interview question and then moves on from there so that you can kind of uncover more depth and substance in the examples provided. So those long interviews are slated to happen, I would say, mid to late March. And this timeline is on the website too, in case you guys ever want to refer to it. And then there's kind of an aggressive goal of by early April having identified a candidate so that ideally they could maybe start and have some overlap before the end of the school year, but for sure the contract year would begin July 1st. So any questions I can answer about the process?
Thank you, Emily, so very much. I wanted to mention that I have been selected. I just got the news to sit on the search advisory group,
Oh, great.
and that will begin Thursday night. So
Excellent. I failed to mention, but another important component of the opportunity to participate is, aside from the online survey that will be available to everyone in the community, there will also be some focus group opportunities, likely virtual focus group opportunities, just because of the dynamics. But those information on those events will be coming out in the next couple of weeks as well. Thank you for having me.
Great. Emily, appreciate it. Well, this board likes to celebrate, so thank you. We certainly appreciate you coming today.
thank you, Emily.
Bye, Emily. Much appreciated. All right, let's see. We will go ahead to item 2.05, presentation, discussion, and update on the structure, programs, and working groups of the Education Alliance for the 2021-22 school year, including board development for 2022-23, board member spotlight to share involvement with education and EA, and updates from our 3 educational institutions. Let's see, why don't we, Kendall, do you have anything to kick us off on this item?
You know, I do. I really do. Just to kind of segue off of Emily's report and so forth, in March, we should know who will be the Washoe County School District representative on our board. So by March is what my hope is that timing. Before we start, I actually have some really exciting news to share with you. I'm going to be a grandma. Yes, in July, my son and his wife are having a baby. I just had to share that. And that does have to do with the board and structure of our organization, right? Anyway, I had to share that. I'm just over the moon about it. You know, we are fast approaching board officer elections, which are in June, and I begin kind of reaching out to each of you to see how you're faring in your positions, if you aspire to other positions on exec or throughout the board. I just wanted to give you a little heads up on that, and that's really all that about board development. We're just kind of looking at next school year already. You know, we look so far ahead.
All right, any questions for Kendall on those items? Kendall, when's your grandbaby due?
July 13th, and it's a little boy. It's going to be a little inskip baby, bouncing baby boy. Yes. So I just encourage anyone to reach out to me if you have some hopes and dreams about board, being on the board. Thank you all.
Thank you. So something we started this academic year, a little board member spotlights, sharing involvement with education and the Education Alliance. Who do we have today? I failed to note. My apologies. Who's going to be sharing their...
Dave Bianchi, Mara Luz, and Charles.
Oh, fantastic. I have to tell you, I look forward to this item every meeting, learning a little bit about my co-board members. So, Dave, since you're to the left of me immediate, do you want to start us off?
Sure, thanks,
All right,
Melissa.
thank you.
Quick reminder, anything you say can and will be used on social media.
That's true. I can speak from experience.
Well, you know, I thought about this. I thought back to my 8th grade teacher, Mr. Davis, and I'd been struggling trying to understand some basic math, and he would regularly get down on one knee beside my desk and calmly explain how to figure out my questions. And he never seemed to be in a hurry. You know, he always just wanted to help. And then at Churchill County High School, my English teacher, Mrs. Berlin, had an amazing knack of explaining the English language, including tricks on how to spell words properly. And then there was our government teacher, or civics as we called it back then, Mr. Halliman. He was fresh out of college. Now, while it's really common now, back then it was revolutionary that he would show up in a leather jacket and no tie or sport coat. And I already had an interest in government and history, and he just made it fun. And as a result, when I enrolled at the University of Nevada, I majored in education. I don't think a lot of you know that, with a focus on political science and history. So many teachers have had an impact on me. Now, for reasons I won't go into, I ended up changing fields and graduated with a finance degree and a ROTC commission. In the meantime, Lois and I were married, and she had a teaching certificate and started teaching kindergarten at Stead when it was still an Air Force base, and Lena Juniper until I entered the military. And after we returned to Reno, she didn't immediately return to the teaching until our youngest was ready to start the school system. But then she became involved in the very early stages of ESL, English as a Second Language, or as we call it today, ELL, English Language Learners. Ultimately, she became the district coordinator for several years, and then she returned to the classroom and retired in 2005. And some of you have met my oldest daughter, Leah. She vowed never to be a teacher, but she became one. And then she vowed never to be a principal, and then she became one. And she told us recently she only has a few more years when she can retire if she really wants to, but I don't understand how that can be. I'm not that old to have a daughter that can be retired. I should also mention that my brother was a teacher before joining the staff of the National Education Association. So you can see I've been surrounded by some mighty fine educators. So it's given me a clear insight into the field and the trials and tribulations and successes that occur along the path to educating our young people. I had followed the successes of the Education Alliance for many, many years. Some of the original founders were actually friends of mine, so I did have an interest. So when Jim Farmer, past president of this group and now deceased, asked me to be involved, I jumped on it. So I joined the board. The executive director left shortly afterwards, and they hired someone named Kendall as executive director. You know, our mission statement, uniting our community to illuminate clear pathways for every Washoe County student's brightest future, denotes to me that we provide a light on the pathway as we move forward in a positive manner. Now, while COVID has disrupted some of our favorite programs, as we just discussed, we continue to find ways to help our students and teachers. And thanks to our wonderful staff and our board leadership, we've not stood still. Now, I'm going to move off the board at the end of this year, but I'm confident that we'll continue to connect our community with the great work that our district does in providing a positive future for our district and its students. Melissa?
Wow.
Wow, touch my heart.
I know, I have goosebumps, Dave. Wow, thank you so much. You have such a storytelling like quality too to your words that you just shared. So enjoyable to hear. Not that you're stepping off the board though, that I don't like that. But thank you so much. Mary Lou's.
if we weren't in a global pandemic, I'd walk over to Dave and give him the biggest hug ever because I love this man and he's inspirational. So my name is Mariluz Garcia. I am a born and raised and proud of it Elko girl. I'm a Nevada girl. I'm the daughter of immigrants, and so as I sit at this table and stare at this microphone and all this fancy technology, it never ceases to amaze me how I didn't grow up hearing about quorums and open meeting laws and bylaws, and this to me is like visiting a foreign place. But I'm grateful that I have a seat at the table because it's given me an opportunity to meet you fine folks. So my parents always really, really supported education. They just didn't know how to get us there. My father immigrated from the Basque Country. An assemblyman named John Carpenter recruited him, and he didn't know anything about sheep. And here he comes to Elko, Nevada, of all places in the world, and ends up in the Ruby Mountains tending sheep. So he did that for about a decade until he came out of the mountains and met my pretty Mexican mom, who had immigrated from Mexico, but grew up in the educational system here in the United States. So together they had 4 kids, and my sister really is the one that changed my life forever. She was like Lisa Simpson off The Simpsons. She had it all together. She knew all things, highly motivated, highly driven, and I was just playing basketball and getting in trouble most of the time. But she opened my eyes to college. I remember dropping her off at the University of San Francisco, full ride, mind you. I didn't even know what a college was, let alone a fabulous city like San Francisco. It was just the most eye-opening experience of my life. And so I'm like nudging my brothers in the back seat, like, what the heck is this? Like, what does she sign up for? Because I want that. And at the time, a lot of the students I went to school with went straight into the mining workforce. You can make good money. You didn't need a college degree. And so it was really a handful of us from Elko High School who chose to come to Reno, Boise, or Salt Lake. Those were kind of the 3 main options. And you're equally, it's like this Bermuda Triangle of nothingness in the desert, which I love, but it was very difficult to get access to that. And so we got here, my brother and I, and he would crash in my girls' dorm just because he thought it was cool. And eventually we graduated together, my brother and I, from college, elementary education for me. And funny story is, our superintendent, Kristen McNeil, was my first boss at Marvin Moss Elementary, believe it or not. And she quickly let me go because of count day. So I joke with her all the time because she was so sweet. She was like, I am Mariluz. I'm so sorry. Me and this other guy who were teaching in kindergarten classroom got the boot like right out the gate. It was the end of my teaching career. And she gave me a Bully's gift card. And I was like, thanks, boss. So I went back to the College of Education pleading to be in the school counseling program, and that's where I met the Dean's Future Scholars. So I became a graduate assistant for the Dean's Future Scholars program and helped build the mentoring program and, mentored all of these young people who are now just in remarkable positions at TMCC at the university and in the school district today. So I've known these folks for 18 years now, which mind-blowing, but these are homegrown, low-income first-generation students who have achieved social mobility and are doing amazing things and diversified our workforce. So I continued, I was a school counselor at Dilworth Middle School for 4 years and then Glen Duncan for 1. I've only always worked with low-income first-generation students, only Title I schools. Those are my students. Those are my families. And so when Bob Edgington, a retired school counselor, came and asked me if I wanted to become the director of the Dean's Future Scholars program, I couldn't say no. Emily Ellison doesn't know this, but Don Huckabee, her predecessor, set up this unique agreement that I'm a school counselor by trade, but I am what they call a field-based instructor at the College of Education. It's an amazing model that a school district and an institution in a higher ed could partner so beautifully to provide this mechanism to help drive success rates for low-income first-generation students. So it's a really cool thing, and I'd love to touch base with her just so she knows that that exists. I think a lot of people don't know that that exists. I've continued my education. I was in school for a total of 21 years and got my doctorate. And the reason why I got my doctorate, honestly, is just so I could show my students that there could be a Dr. Garcia in the house, that somebody from their background a daughter of immigrants, Spanish-speaking parents, could do it. And I always am very proud to say school was hard for me, and I'm not a strong student, but I work my butt off. And so I'm kind of missing school now, so I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life. But when I got invited by Denise Benson in 2012, when I started with DFS, she invited me to P16. And I had Superintendent Pedro Martinez on my right, and I had this gangster named Ann Loring to my left. And I was like, this woman is changing the way we calculate high school graduation rates at the time. She was like a mover and a shaker, and the conversations that were coming out of P16 at that time were just like mind-blowing. So there I am, like wedged between these like powerhouses, and I'm like, this is really cool. I should have run for the hills, but 10 years later, I'm still part of EA, and I love it. I've been involved with, the Run for Ed, obviously, with the volunteers, been part of exec. I just really love the direction of the wellness that we're going in, and just thinking of the whole child holistically and all of the programming. I'm just a huge fan of EA, and I will be exiting at the end of this term. But 10 years, Kendall, can you believe that? It's crazy. So let's see, the mission statement. How fun was our group? I don't know if I can speak for the rest of us. Some of the best meetings in the world were coming up with this mission statement.
We had a great group.
And we had a great time. And the reason I love it, I just circled a few words: uniting, clearing pathways, every. To me, this is like one of the most inclusive mission statements I've ever read, really, and been a part of. Was really, really fun and exciting. And so what I love about it is it's options. And I think that's what the line of work I'm in is, just presenting options for kids, right? Just helping them meet their brightest future. And so the last point asks us, how have you applied the mission recently? And some crazy thing happened to me last spring where Senator Heidi Severs-Gansert picked up the phone and called me and said, Mariluz, I'm sending you $4 million. And I was like, what? So I literally had to dream up an initiative, a statewide initiative it was about 2.5 days. I thought about it in the shower. I thought about it in the car. I thought about it at bedtime. And I dreamed up what would be called the Nevada First Gen Network. And so we kicked off the new year with this statewide initiative that is aimed at providing COVID relief dollars for first-generation college students throughout the state, prospective college students. The beautiful thing about these dollars is it's very, very open. So 6th grade or older, doesn't matter what geographic location, it doesn't matter what scope. And so one of the things I thought of is to issue it back in the form of microgrants. So I'm taking 54% of the budget and actually giving it back to Nevada. So we are going to kick things off with, it's about $750,000 a year that we'll issue in microgrants. So we'll have an online microgrant portal, look at, prospects and make sure everything's kind of distributed where it's needed the most. Writing a statewide needs assessment that is solely focused on first-generation students, which hasn't been done from what I've been told. So we're going to essentially tell the story of first-gen college students for the state of Nevada. So what her kind of tapping me on the shoulder has done is just made me realize, like, there is so much more you can do. And you can dream big. And my word for the year this year is innovate. I've never had the chance to build something from the ground up, and it is the most invigorating thing on the planet. And I wish I could bring some of my new team members here, but we just have so much fun at work, and we're just dreaming up this big initiative. So I'm excited to report to our legislators and all of the community stakeholders, including Education Alliance, on our progress. But it's being built by first-generation college students, most of which who came up through the DFS program. So it's a beautiful cycle. So thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Bravo, my goodness, we're so proud of you.
So
we want to make sure whatever you need, whatever support, however we can help you, we are here for you in any capacity. Just keep us posted, and we do want you to come back and keep us posted on how you're doing statewide. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kendall.
Yeah, absolutely. What a tremendous thing you're doing for so many students. Thank you so much, Mary Luz. And yes, that I think our little mission statement and strategic planning team was was a hoot. I often joked with the team, you got the leader with two left brains, and so I was just happy to to kind of float this little idea out there, something that I had learned about a limbic mission statement, and just let the creative and the positive and right-brain thinkers just take it and run with it. And I'm so proud of what we were able to accomplish. All right, Charles.
Oh boy!
I tell you, I love this agenda item.
Well, so I'm a singer in a band, so I do perform, and I also recognize when I have to follow certain acts that were just amazing, and that's what just happened to me on the last one. But anyways, I'm Charles Pacius, and I'm an electrical engineer with Veris Associates, where we provide automation engineering and consulting. It's been a pretty amazing career for me. I'll give you some background on me, because I don't typically share all that much about myself, but I am the youngest of 10 children. We were not a well-to-do family. Parents separated when I was at a very young age, so as a result, I spent a lot of time between my parents, who lived in California, Nevada, Oklahoma, Texas. And so it meant I didn't have a lot of continuity in my education. So I would say growing up, I probably was not an ideal student. But I made it through. And, when I graduated Hug High School, I realized I attended 27 different schools growing up. And so I was pretty happy with myself to have even graduated, but some things that happened along the way. I would say I turned the corner as a student in my sophomore year. Is I did take advantage of the industrial arts programs that they had at Hug High School, and so I became very proficient at building engines, working with metals, welding, and most importantly, mechanical drafting. I had a teacher named Bob Dennis, and I didn't realize it, but he had actually groomed me to design homes. And so in my senior year at Hug High School, I entered the home design contest for Northern Nevada, which was put on by Nevada Builders, and ended up placing in the contest, it was pretty amazing. Nevada Builders really had supported me and reached out and really encouraged me to stay in the field, and I did. I went to I started at Truckee Meadows and eventually UNR, pursuing architecture. All the while I had worked for an electrical engineer and ultimately switched my major because I liked electrical engineering that much more. So I would say the rest is history for as far as my career goes. I'm pretty pleased with where I've ended up in life, and my path to the Education Alliance. I would say that happened one night at a football game. My son, he played for McQueen Lancers, and we happened to be visiting Hug High School that night, and I could see the big difference in resources. There was a gap, and that's when I knew I needed to come back and serve and help, and that was important to me. And Kendall approached me about joining the Education Alliance, which I've been on since 2016. And I was intimidated to be on this board. To be honest, there were so many amazing people that were on the board at that time and are still on the board. Not to take any credit away from anybody, but it was intimidating. But I've enjoyed my time here, and I look forward to helping out more. I would say one of the things that's happened during this COVID is all of us, we're doing more with less. It's really taken a lot of my extra time, which I think I'm kind of turning the corner on that, and I can be more involved in the Education Alliance, which I'm happy to say. I do want to keep participating and doing what I can. It's very important to me to give back to the community, and you know, I benefited from what was offered to me at Hug High School. I have to acknowledge that, and you know, so that's really it for me. I'm glad to be able to give back, and I do want to do more, and the Education Alliance is a great way to do that. So, and regarding our mission statement, I guess my statement about that would have been, without commitment, any child can get left behind, and a team effort is what I believe it takes to ensure opportunities are available to all students. So I'm here to also help with that. So there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charles.
And you were worried for no reason. That was amazing, and we certainly appreciate all you do for the board, run coordinator, and everything else. You do amazing work, and I'm proud to serve along with you.
Can I add just a quick note? I'm looking at you, Kendall. Something you may want to consider, not just for Charles's sake, but when that beautiful brand new Hug High School opens up, there will be tours and celebrations. So to go see what that looks like, it's going to be amazing.
Yes.
So just a thought.
Yes. Excellent. No question. We got to see that. I've been watching things happen, and it's going to be unbelievable. And Charles, how wonderful for you to be a spokesperson and a product of that great school, and how exciting it will be for you to see that, and for those students there to bond with you and be able to know that, yeah, they're on the way, shining stars. So thank you, Charles. It means a lot. All three of you. My heart is full. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, and Melissa, I just want to thank you for
Please do.
letting me go first, because as Charles said, I'm glad it was an opening act.
Oh, you and me both, Chris. I got to tell you, you and me both.
Yes. These stories have been incredible, and really appreciate all of you sharing them with us.
Likewise.
Wonderful.
All right. Let's see. We have some updates from our 3 educational institutions. I know Dave Shintani was not able to join us today. I have just a couple of things that I thought might be of interest to all of you from TMCC. Of course, today was the first day of the spring semester, so it was great to see students back on campus. We are offering in-person classes among the other online and hybrid modalities. So I know, but from my teaching background, I always much preferred to teach in person. So it's great to see the students there on the campus again. I know many of you have some interactions with our technical sciences division, or are interested in CTE. And unfortunately, our Dean of Technical Sciences took another position in Michigan. But we do have a wonderful interim dean. His name is Craig Mebust. He has a background in architecture. In fact, he's the one bringing forward our Bachelor of Architecture, which will go before the Board of Regents in March. And he's really hit the ground running. And so, those of you looking to partner or have interactions with our Technical Sciences division, I'm sure you'll meet Craig soon if you haven't already. And along the lines in Technical Sciences, we have an open house. We're going to be having a CTE, Career and Tech Ed open house at our Applied Tech Center at Edison. It'll be February 16th. I've got a flyer here. I'm happy to send it to the board. But we'll have a number of presentations and live demos on the various programs that we offer there at the Applied Tech Center, including architecture, automotive and diesel, machining, welding, advanced manufacturing. So it is geared for students, but I invite all of you to come and just see all the amazing things that we have going on in CTE there at the college. Debbie, anything from Washoe County?
Maybe just a few things to share as well. And I was appreciative that Kendall reached out to Emily, our Chief HR Officer, to provide a much better update on the process than I would be able to. So thank you, Kendall, for working with Emily. So that's big work that's happening now, the superintendent search. And I think as we came back off of the winter break, we're 4 weeks now into the second semester. People are more and more becoming more aware of the search and the process and that as well. And that's normal. Meanwhile, we are doing everything we can to keep our schools open. We have a commitment to keep our buildings open for our students. It gets tough for sure at times with staffing and all the things all of you have seen in the news, not just here, but nationwide. We have a real shortage in transportation, nutrition services, and some days it feels like we're barely hanging on by a thread, but somehow we do it. And then the next day is a new day. So we're all subbing. We're doing bus hub duty. I'm at Van Gorder Elementary School at dark hours often to make sure our middle school students heading to Sky Ranch are getting there safely. And so everybody's pitching in to do everything we possibly can, to keep it together. And then you get little glimmers of hope, right? That the curve is bending whatever way we need it to bend to help our community in that. But we're working hard on that. Tomorrow, I was thinking about HUG, the current location on Sutro, McCarran for HUG. So Debbie Smith, Career and Technical Academy, CTA, was scheduled to open in fall of 2023. But that's been pushed out 1 year to 2024 for several reasons, not least of which the amount of demolition that is going to be happening at that site. So I thought you might be interested in that. But again, HUG's opening at Wild Creek is scheduled to happen on time. So if you've driven past that, that's beautiful. It's beautiful up there. My husband says that they better have the best golf team in town, given their location. And then I thought one last thing that I could share at tomorrow's Board of Trustees meeting. There's going to be a presentation with action. We're recommending that our graduation ceremonies return to Lawler in June. We do have a few schools that graduate at their sites, but that is going to be the recommendation actually for several reasons, safety and security being kind of the primary driver there. So that's tomorrow night, and once we have that decision made, then we can start to dial in the plans for our schools to head back to Lawler. So that's going to, I think, elicit a lot of interest. I'm looking at Jill. Remember Jill last year at the beautiful ceremony that Reno High did on their football field, and we know that there were, all the ceremonies were beautiful, but lots of considerations that we're having to think about, that we thought about in making the recommendations. So it's just kind of some updates from WCSD.
Thank you so much. Kendall, any parting thoughts on this agenda item here before we move forward?
No, I'm just super grateful for all of you for lifting up everyone around us and being optimistic with us. Debbie, the most optimistic person I know, and Brittany, an incredible team. Kathleen's out due to a death in the family, but we all are facing our own challenges, but I want you to know you're not alone. Thank you for helping us in our mission.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead to 3.01, public comment. Brittany, do we have any public comment?
Not at this time.
All right, then we are at 3.02, announcement of the next meeting. That'll be on March 28th, our full board meeting, next full board meeting. I think for now, we'll probably assume that we'll be meeting in person here at the district office, but with COVID and such, just be prepared that might change to all virtual or another location that can accommodate maybe some distancing if we need to go that route. With that, I think we're at 3:03, meeting adjournment. so I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 5:12. And I get to use the gavel.